Hey guys, my name's Preston Dixon. I am a guy in recovery. I'm also no meditation expert. I don't have any degree. I teach meditation quite a lot the last few years, several classes to friends, people, clients in recovery. And I got to tell you, I most of the time feel super inadequate about doing it, but I'm quickly reassured that I know that meditation is one of those things that saved my life, and I'm passionate about it. I like talking about it. I've looked into it a lot. I've studied different techniques. I found a few that work. Some of them don't really work for me. Everyone's different. But what I want to talk about today is what a guy like me in recovery has found that's actually worked. One of the most consistent tools I've had. Look, I've had sponsors. A lot of us in recovery have had sponsors relapse maybe, or we've had people that we trusted or confided in, not out of town, or we can't get a hold of them. We're no longer friends, right? And so meditation's a consistent tool that I've found. And I want to tell a story real quick of kind of how I found it and where it started for me. March 2006, I'm 21 years old. And I'm coming off of Oxycontin and alcohol and other things. And I'm sitting in treatment about 2 weeks in or so after having been able to sleep very much at all, coming off of opiates. You can't sleep very well, feeling like I was going crazy. The drugs were worn off, and I felt anxiety, a lot of depression as well. Just didn't feel comfortable in my skin. Definitely didn't like the guy looking back in the mirror or trust him, right? And so at this point in my life, what had been my trend was I needed to use. I needed to find drugs and alcohol because that was my coping mechanism. And I didn't know at this point in my life if I could be sober. It was hard for me to imagine being sober. I wasn't managing my mind, my mental health at all. Didn't even really understand at that point in my life that there was a thing called mental health. I knew there was physical health and a lot of other things, but mental health, what was that? And I remember walking down from the kitchen and hearing, I was at a treatment center called the Ark Little Cottonwood. I'm really grateful for them. I learned a lot of awesome things. And I heard some people listening to music, and I go down, I found out they're listening to Enya. And I thought it was kind of weird. They're laying on the floor. They'd take the pillows off the chairs and spread them out and lay on them. And, I noticed Travis, one of my buddies there, won't give his last name because of HIPAA. HIPAA. And Travis is laying there on these pillows, and he's got this like soft smile on his face. And this is a guy that I kind of started looking up to because he was almost ready to finish his treatment, and I noticed he had this had this look in his eyes that was different. He seemed happy, and hearing his story was very similar to mine. I'm like, man, how is this guy so content? he seems like he's got a handle on life, and I was a complete wreck. And he started to talk to me about meditation, and I had an awesome therapist there that also helped me understand what meditation was as well as a tool. And I started meditating. I started to learn how to meditate, and I'll talk a little bit about what I've learned and what I do here in these videos below. But the cool thing about meditation is it's always there. It's easy to pick up. There's been a few times in my recovery where those thoughts of using became very frequent. Where if I didn't have meditation, it would have been really hard for me to stay sober. And you know what I'm talking about. When things happen in life, life. I've heard this saying: life is a series of disasters interrupted by the occasional catastrophe. If you look at it that way. I don't, but in life sometimes there are these catastrophes that happen, and in your mind, if you're an addict, you can relate where that trigger just goes, where it's almost like your mind decides for you that day, we're going to use. So how are we going to do it? Let's figure this out. And it's really hard to pull out of that mindset. That frame of mind gets so concrete sometimes, it's very hard to pull out of. And I can tell you honestly that without meditation, I don't know if I would have been able to pull out of a few of those situations. Either the sponsor was unavailable or I didn't have a sponsor at the time. And I just didn't have a lot of coping mechanisms. But the one that I've always been able to rely on is meditation. And to take it a step further, it's given me that opportunity to listen to God, universe. I always tell people, if you quiet your mind and you open your heart, a lot of times you can get answers. Where that's from, a lot of people speculate. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. That's my higher power. Everyone has different higher powers, and that's okay. But I think that there's something magnificent about when we can quiet our mind and get it in a place where we're centered, and allows our mind not to be so busy, where we can connect with something greater than ourselves. And so I'll talk a little bit about more of that here in these videos below. Thanks.